let's first start by breaking down the overall renewal requirements. So number one, you get licensed. Number two, you got to do post-licensing. And then number three, continuing education. And these are ultimately they're different intervals, but it's usually going to be 2 years, every 2 years once you get to this point. Really, actually, once you get to this point, it's just 2 years. So let's do some examples with some dates here. Because usually when we put some real dates behind this, it makes more sense. And it can be a little confusing the way they structure the renewal deadlines, because there are only 2 days out of the year that real estate licenses renew. So let's say that you go, and we'll say that you just got your real estate license today. We'll say June 23rd of 2021. So let's say you go out there, you get your real estate license today, June 23rd of 2021. When is your post-licensing deadline going to be? It's going to be some time frame between 18 and 24 months. Now, ultimately, we recommend doing your post-licensing as soon as possible, which is anytime after you've got your real estate license, but before your renewal deadline. Ultimately, this must be done before your renewal deadline, otherwise your license will become null and void if that's not completed. So you don't want your license to become null and void, because if it's null and void, you've got to start all the way over from the beginning. You got to redo your application, redo your fingerprints, redo your state exam, also retaking your pre-licensing course because your course completion probably expired, because it expires after 2 years. So you basically start the whole process over from the beginning if you don't have this post-licensing course done by the deadline. Now, really the whole topic of discussion for today's show is about how these courses are going to help you grow your real estate business. And I do want to focus a little bit more on the continuing education, but post-licensing is that prerequisite before you even get to continuing education. And post-licensing, you can almost think of this as like a boot camp for starting up your business. That you've got this real estate business that you're trying to get off the ground. You now legally are able to practice real estate once you have an active license with a broker. Once you have an active real estate license and you join a broker, you could practice real estate, but the problem is you might not know how to practice real estate. Your pre-licensing course, for exam purposes, will teach you about things like getting contracts in writing and signed, and different types of relationships you would have with clients, and how to appraise property values, and the mortgage financing process, and property taxes, and zoning, and we go on, different types of deeds. But it really doesn't go through, all right, if you want to get business, if you want to make a lot of money, do these things. Or if you want to make some deal of money, how much money do you want to make? Oh, you want to make that much? Okay, this is what you need to do to make that much money. That's more so the pieces of the puzzle that you're putting together with these types of courses. This pre-licensing to get your real estate license, it's going to be a lot of information that, again, focuses a lot on the laws, the rules, the basic principles and practice to make sure you have the minimal competence that the Florida Real Estate Commission is looking for before they turn you loose on the public. But they require you to complete this post-licensing course before your deadline, because technically you don't necessarily need this to know how to practice real estate, because maybe you had a license from another state. If you've had a license in another state, especially if it's one of the few states that are similar to Florida, there's not many of them. That's why we only have so few mutual recognition states. Florida is really different for a lot of the laws and rules, so I'd still recommend you do this post-licensing, but for the most part, you probably understand real estate and you don't necessarily need to do this right away. However, if you are new to real estate, you don't know how to sell real estate yet. Even if you got some ideas, even if you've seen what they do on TV, even if you have a friend or family member, whoever, you haven't been taught in simple terms how to practice real estate. And that's exactly what the post-licensing course is designed to do. You're brand new to real estate. You don't know the higher level terms that experienced agents may be using. It might not all make sense. They could easily talk over your head. I have to make a conscious effort to simplify the things that I say. That's why one of our core values here at Tampa School of Real Estate is to keep things simple, because actually no matter how complicated the topic is, if we can't make it any simpler, then we can't further explain it. And so that's really important, that you learn these simple, fundamental, basic principles of your real estate business, and that's what we teach in our post-licensing curriculum here at the Tampa School of Real Estate. We have classroom, live stream, as well as on-demand, self-paced, interactive online courses, as well as instructor-led live streams, as well as good old-fashioned classroom courses. But again, this curriculum it starts with business planning. How much money do you want to make? Let's figure out how you make that. Let's develop a plan of how many clients you need to reach, how many leads you need to have, what you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis so you can hold yourself accountable. Because if you want to be able to hit that income goal, you need to know what the daily activities are that you need to take to get to that income goal. So this is important to take as soon as possible because there's so much. It's jam-packed with information that honestly will seem remedial if you've actually practiced real estate. One of two things are going to happen if you wait to take this post-licensing course. Number one, it's going to seem remedial because you figured it out the hard way. I'll let you in on a secret. That's what happened to me. I struggled at first in real estate, but that's because this course to get licensed terrified me, and I never wanted to go through that process again. Which you would think I would want to get this knocked out so my license doesn't go null and void. But I was basically, I guess I had the mindset of, all right, I got 2 years, I got 18 months or whatever to see if I make any money before I got to take this post-licensing. Let's see if I want to keep my license. But in reality, this course was something that could have got me started much faster, much quicker, and got my real estate business moving in a lot more easy way. I don't want to use the term easy because I don't want to sell this as easy. This does take work, but you know what's way more work? You know what's so much more difficult? Trying to figure this all out on your own. Imagine if you had to go down the street. No, go across town. Imagine you had to venture across town, but nobody sold cars. You simply had to build your own car. You literally had to reinvent the wheel if you want to get across town. Are you going to get across town? Probably not. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You want to know these basic fundamental principles of how the business is done, no matter how experienced it is that you are in business and even in real estate. Even if you've done real estate in other states. Again, Florida does real estate a little bit differently than most other states. And on top of that, you're never too experienced to get back to good, strong fundamentals. And that's another reason why, even again, if you're experienced, I would still get this course done right away. You can even take this course if you don't have a real estate license. However, it's not going to give you any credit for anything. So make sure you get your real estate license first. And as soon as you're licensed, you could get into post-licensing. But say you complete that, and again, what is the deadline? That's where, before we got on this whole tangent of why post-licensing is important and why you want to do it right away and not by this deadline. But what is this deadline? So we go 2 years ahead and we fall back to either March 31st or September 30th. So when we jump 2 years ahead, that's going to be June 23rd of 2023. So we're going to fall back to March 31st of 2023. So that would be your deadline. I would not recommend waiting to that deadline. Number one, because you run the risk of losing your real estate license if you cut it too close, because your license will go null and void at midnight on March 31st. The moment the clock strikes midnight, boom, null and void with your license. It's gone. You got to start over from the beginning. There's no grace period or anything like that. You have to start over from the beginning. Maybe you could apply for a hardship, but you probably better have documentation that you're in the hospital or caring for somebody in the hospital or whatever the reason is that gives you an extenuating circumstance. We always recommend people request those, but they usually are not granted. And you'll usually have to start it from the beginning. So don't let your license go null and void. And again, it's not just about this is something you got to do. This is something that you need to do. Something that will take your business, again, from being nothing, because that's really what it is when you first start out. You just get your real estate license. That's all your business is. It's just a license. A license doesn't make any money. A knowledgeable professional who knows how to use that license is what makes money. And that's what this post-licensing is designed to do, to help you become a more knowledgeable professional who knows how to use that real estate license to make money. And again, that's what the post-licensing is designed to do in a nutshell. It's got a lot of really good fundamental things you'll want to remember as you build your business. Not just for your first couple of deals, but as you build the structure of your business long term. You're learning about that in post-licensing. Now, your next deadline is going to be for continuing education, and it's going to be every 2 years after this date. So if you're on the March 31st renewal cycle, you're going to remain March 31st of odd-numbered years. March 31st of odd-numbered years because your renewal deadlines ended up falling on that. So Depending on exactly what day you get your license, because for the most part, you could take your real estate exam any day of the year. So you might get licensed any day out of the year, but your renewal deadline is either going to be March 31st or September 30th. It's some window between 18 and 24 months. But then after you do your post-licensing, you're good until 2023, March 31st of 2023. And then after March 31st, 2023, this is important for continuing education. Especially, one of the things we've realized, it was a few years back that we realized how important it was that this post-licensing course be taken sooner rather than later. And since we had started, telling people that, hey, you want to take this sooner rather than later because it's going to help you. No kidding, knowing a contract as being writing and signed doesn't help you too much in terms of how do I make money with my real estate license. That's where post-licensing comes in. But since we've been telling people to take this right away, they also try to take these right away. However, if you purchase and take these courses during this renewal cycle, it will now count towards this renewal cycle. So it's very important that whatever the course is that you need to take, that does me no good. Whatever the course is that you need to take, you must do it during the appropriate renewal cycle. So you can't jump the gun. You can't do it ahead of time for this continuing education. You have to wait until April 1st of 2023. So as soon as April 1st of 2023, so March 31st, the next day is April 1st of 2023, during this window, that's when you got to do your 14 hours of continuing education. And then same thing, again, and we'll say 4, 5, 6, because this is, again, going to go on and on and on, that, again, you got to do continuing education. And your renewal deadlines that are going to look like this: March 31st of 2025, March 31st to 2027, March 31st of 2029, March 31st of 2031. God, that sounds weird to say out loud. 2031. That's only 10 years away. What the world is going to look like a decade from now. Anyways, back to your real estate license here. So you might be wondering, you're telling me I got to take this same, and it's only a 14-hour course. This is a 45-hour course. Your post-licensing is a little bit more significant of an enroll requirement. Your continuing education, this is only 14 hours. And honestly, if you need to get this done in a pinch, we've got probably the easiest, fastest way to get this done is through our correspondence textbook. Our correspondence textbook is just a little book that you purchase. It's, I think, like $25, $30, something like that. Check our website for the current pricing on that. That includes the exam. That includes us reporting it to the state for you. And it's a 30-question open book exam you complete. That's it. So if you want to phone this in because you don't have time to go sit there and learn something, that's a real easy, basic way that's still going to catch you up on the stuff that's important. You still go through, read through the information there, but it is just an open book exam at the end. So you don't have to sit there and make flashcards and study this stuff. You just have to go through it, answer the questions correctly. And on this open book exam, being an open book exam, you'd think they would require 100%. That, well, if you got the answers right there in front of you, you better get every single one of them right. But no, on this 30-question open book exam, you only need to score an 80%. An 80%, that is all. So it's an easy requirement to knock out if you need to make it easy. But if you want to, again, take this opportunity to, rather than just doing the same repetitive thing again and again and again that really isn't doing much other than, maybe you take away some of the updates on the law. Hopefully you do. That's ultimately the goal of the FREC with the continuing education. But then for those elective hours, there's a lot of really good information that could be out there that could count towards your credit that could help you grow your real estate business. I'm not going to say all continuing education is going to be good because there's a lot of different continuing education that's out there, and a lot of it is designed just to be quick and easy because people want to just get it done. However, you should constantly be growing your real estate business in whichever way it is that you can. Yeah, the Association of Realtors has tons of classes. Title companies might do classes. You've also got to do these renewal requirements with the state, with the Florida Real Estate Commission, to be able to keep your real estate license. And yeah, you might learn this stuff in all these other places, and then this can just be maybe some legal requirement you meet if that's what you want to do. That little book is going to be the quickest, easiest way to complete this. But if you really want to, maybe pick and choose, because we do have some interesting courses here. So let me pull up our online catalog here. So to give you a rundown of what you need for your continuing education, ultimately, let's put this up here. because they are a little bit more specific now over what the hours, what information is taught across certain hours. Basically, how much of the course, because if you're doing that correspondence textbook, that's all at your own pace, so you can do that as quickly as you need to. But for the allotted percentage of the course, there has to be so much of it that's based on core law and so much on it that's based on ethics. The ethics one is relatively new. The core law requirement has been around for quite some time. So let's say that, again, there's 14 hours total for your continuing education. And out of those 14 hours, you need core law, ethics, and then electives. Core law, ethics, and electives. And so out of these here, the core law must be at least 3 hours. The ethics also must be 3 hours. Now, when I say 3 hours, again, this is just the estimation of the time it takes to go through this. Pretty much all of our continuing education courses are all self-paced formats, so it probably won't take you 3 hours to go through this unless you're really combing through every last detail of the course. Then maybe it could take much longer than 3 hours to go through all the info. And that's the point. And especially for these electives, you ultimately then have 8 hours left for elective that you need to fulfill the entire 14-hour requirement. And if you want, you can do more electives. So if you really like our courses and you do want to do more, you could do more. You don't necessarily have to stop at 14 hours. However, you won't get any additional credit for a new renewal cycle until that new renewal cycle comes around. So make sure you know that, so you're not wasting all this time doing a bunch of continuing education thinking you're going to be set for 10 years. No, you have to do it during that time frame. And especially for the core law, because there is a certain degree of this that is the same information that's taught again, but a lot of times there are updates, especially when it goes across 2 years. There might be something that's new, or maybe something that's not new, but maybe all of a sudden more important given the circumstances of the market or whatever the case may be. So there's updates there that they want to keep you up to date on and find out more on. They also are realizing that there's some unethical real estate agents out there. Maybe quite a few. There's at least some. We'll leave it at that. Everybody's got a different definition of ethics, though. Or maybe not everybody, but some people have a different definition of ethics. I digress. So whatever the reason may be, the Florida Real Estate Commission added this as a requirement. Well, we want you to do at least 3 hours of this time as ethics. Because it used to be, okay, you need 3 hours of law and then 11 hours of electives. So they allow you to take an ethics course if you want to. But they're like, all right, you know what? We want to make ethics standard, something that they've got to take a course on ethics. So they can't make laws so much that require you to be ethical, but they can require training on being ethical. And that's what they do. So they require 3 hours based on ethics, and everybody's got to do these ones. These two, regardless. Also, if we have any instructors watching this, this core law will also count towards your instructor continuing education as well. And this is also the same whether you're a broker or a salesperson. Sales associates or brokers or broker associates, they all have the exact same continuing education requirements. So everybody's got to do these same things. So again, the law and the ethics, that's going to be pretty much the same. But now how about some of these other courses that you could use with the electives here? So maybe short sales. You know, there's a lot of talk. A lot of people may be worried about there being some more short sales popping on the market. You might wonder, what is a short sale? Well, a short sale is when somebody is upside down on their mortgage, where they owe more money than what their property is worth. And that usually becomes more of an occurrence if prices go down. If people buy at the top of a bubble and then prices go down, they don't even have to go skyrocket down. If they go skyrocket down, that's when there's more people in the situation. But even if they go down just a little bit, that can put people in a short sale situation. Or it might not have anything to do with the market. Maybe they overpaid. They could have overpaid on the property, and that could maybe put them in the situation for a short sale. And what that means is you owe more money on the property than what the property is actually worth. it's a much more complicated process than a traditional real estate sale. So if you want to be able to do those, and this is a skill that I would recommend you have in your back pocket, because if there is any sort of market crash or anything like that, and even if there isn't, you could make money off of this, but if there is a market crash, this is how you make money. This is the way that real estate is done when, we look back at 2008, and what's going on today is nothing like that, so I don't even like making this comparison, but a lot of people get worried when they see prices going up and 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 up with no chance of maybe going down, because that was what was happening before. But just because that's also occurring doesn't necessarily mean the same factors are in play that were in play in 2008. One of the big factors was a lot of mortgage fraud where people couldn't afford the properties that they were buying. And so all this mortgage fraud resulted in overinflated values, and then when all that demand dried up because there weren't that many real buyers who could truly, genuinely actually afford these properties there wasn't anybody to sell them to. That caused prices to go down, and all of a sudden these properties, you owe more money than what the property is worth. And so if you want to try to sell that property, unless you want to pay all that extra money to the bank for the difference, you have to try to negotiate with the bank to get the bank to accept a lower amount than what is owed. And that's what a short sale is. So this short sale course, it's not going to teach you everything. None of these continuing educations, it's a 3-hour course. So you're not going to learn everything about short sales that you ever possibly need to know in 3 hours, because if that was the recipe, everyone would be experts in short sales. However, you taking this 3-hour course, you're going to be light years ahead of the average agent in terms of the knowledge regarding short sales. So maybe that's something you want to use towards your 8 hours of elective. There's another one that we've got here on fair housing. So the fair housing usually isn't the most exciting and interesting to everyone, but maybe you're worried that you don't know it confidently. Maybe you're worried that you might get in a situation, or maybe you've been in a situation where a client has put you in a position to potentially create a fair housing violation and you didn't know how to respond to that situation. That could be where that fair housing continuing education course could be very beneficial to help you better understand how to handle a fair housing situation appropriately. So that is really the big part of it. It's not always the most exciting, because knowing the fair housing doesn't really make you money, but it does save you money because it saves you from putting yourself out of business, as well as potential fines, fees, attorney costs, and all that other type of stuff that you definitely don't want. You don't have time for that. You got to go out there and make money and sell properties. You don't have time to be sued because you didn't know what the Fair Housing Act was. So if you need to brush up on that a little bit, you could choose that Fair Housing Act elective. Let's see what else we got here. Did you serve? So Tampa Bay area, we've got MacDill Air Force Base, and there's, for whatever reason, whether it's because of the base or otherwise, there's a large veteran population here. So there's a lot of benefits that the U.S. government has for its armed forces, for people that are active duty military as well as veterans, from the VA loan programs to a whole bunch of other things that are incentive programs for veterans to achieve home ownership. And so knowing about these things, that makes you more of a resource to this market of potential veterans. So maybe that's you. Maybe you served and you want to get to know these programs better. Maybe you want to understand this better. Maybe you didn't serve, but maybe you have a lot of friends and maybe you're well connected with people who did. And so that's maybe why you want to know how you could help these people better. And so that Did You Serve course could be a great continuing education course as well to help you learn more about, again, now how you could take advantage of these government incentives for veterans. And it's a win-win. You get paid for helping these veterans achieve home ownership. So there's tons of continuing educations. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want to go through a couple more of these in here and just go over, again, how you can pick and choose. And again, this is a requirement, and if you want the quick and easy way, we've got that little correspondence textbook. But these little online courses, if you are genuinely interested in learning about some of these subjects here, again, they're not going to teach you everything. They're not going to be the best course ever. I'm not here to tell you that. But if you want to be above average in short sales, above average in knowledge of the fair housing, above average when working with veterans, it's about the specificity, the speciality that you develop that makes you unique and more of a value to your clients compared to every other real estate agent that's out there. So stick with us. I'm John Carismo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline, I don't need to do post-licensing yet, but look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, helping you better understand the technical side of the industry. And what we're covering today is, again, what it is that you've got to do to keep your real estate license in good standing with the state of Florida. Initially getting your real estate license and then completing your post-licensing from as soon as you got your real estate license, which is what we recommend, but ultimately before your renewal deadline. But after you do your post-licensing, that's when your continuing education comes into play. And I know I've been going through this catalog here, so if any of you guys want to see any of these courses, you can actually view our continuing education catalog right from this link. It's 14hourfl.com. 14hourfl.com with 14hourfl.com. You can see this whole course catalog on here, and again, it breaks down the requirements. You could take our, we have a CE package that already has a bundle of these courses together. Let's see what we got in this bundle here. The 14-hour bundle, you're getting the 3 hours of core law, the 3 hours of ethics. In addition to that, you're doing technology, tools, trends, and risk management. So that course, technology, tools, trends, and risk management, it's got a lot covered in one course. That is a little bit longer of a course. It's a 4-hour course as opposed to most of the other ones are just 3 hours, but it does cover a little bit more, and it also covers how you could use the technology and tools to help cover yourself and protect yourself, the risk management side with trends it is that you're experiencing in real estate today. So that's a good one to be right part of that package there. You got the code of ethics, and again, that did you serve one, we make that right part of the bundle here because especially if you're in the Tampa Bay area, that one is a really good one to be knowledgeable on how you can help veterans achieve home ownership. And there's veterans all over the state, so that is a really good one wherever it is that you're located, but especially if you're in an area that does have more veterans or military people than average. We've got one on going green, so about all the environmental stuff. So maybe you're dealing with new construction more, or maybe you want to do new construction more. That's maybe one of the benefits. And it's not just about, saving the planet. That's not the only reason people go green today. People go green today sometimes for the green. They go green for the green, if you get what I'm saying. They might be willing to buy a new property or might be more interested in a new construction home, maybe because of the savings they're going to experience from better insulation, better windows, overall the property maybe just being newer and having less wear and tear on it, whatever the case may be. The logical part of that, because you got to remember, what ultimately closes a deal is logic. Emotion sells something, but logic closes the deal. So one of the most important principles of sales is sales and closing are different. Sales is about the emotion, about, the living of the life. That's what people are, they're dreaming of. They've got this fairy tale of them living in the house, and that's why we need to sell them a house. But ultimately, they're not ready to make a decision until they're ultimately closed. And so what closes people is usually more the logical, where you could say something, well, look, I know this new construction home is maybe a little bit more, but look, here are the reasons why this makes sense. It's got all this energy efficient, blah, 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 blah. And that's going to save you potentially blah, 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 blah. Versus an older home here that, not only might you have more repairs to the property, but on top of that, it's not quite as energy efficient. So if that's something that you believe might work well in your arsenal, maybe that's a course it is that you want. Or if you're sitting here saying, John, I don't want to talk about green energy stuff. I don't think people really care that much. It's not going to save them that much money. Maybe that's your angle with it as well. And so then that's where you could pick and choose these electives. So that's what's really great about this is you could pick which of these courses is going to be most beneficial to helping you out. Let's see what else we've got here. Keeping it honest, understanding real estate and mortgage fraud. So if you want to make sure that maybe you're dealing with people who don't seem as honest or maybe trying to make a faster buck than usual. And I don't necessarily mean other brokers or mortgage people you're dealing with, but clients. could do all kinds of things to cause issues with us down the road if they're doing things fraudulently. So we want to make sure that we're on the right side of things in the event that we do ever end up dealing with a client that is maybe not doing everything as they should be. And so that's more so, again, what's in here for what is our obligations and our requirements if maybe we're in a situation where we suspect something or anything like that. So that's a really good course. Again, if you're more concerned about the risk side of things, the dangers maybe of real estate, if that concerns you, and this honestly is the thing. So if you're afraid of the risk and dangers associated with real estate, education will help cure those ailments. Because the more it is that you know about the specifics about something, the less scary it starts to seem. If you don't know anything about a topic, it's going to seem really intimidating. But as you start to understand it more, all of a sudden it's not so scary, it's not so intimidating. So that may be, again, maybe dealing with mortgages, you're worried about maybe fraud with mortgages or anything like that. You can learn more about it here. Put yourself at ease. We've got one on personal safety. So I know that's a concern sometimes of new agents that, you're going out there maybe showing somebody a home or anything like that. So what are some safety tips it is that you could utilize to make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation where your safety is at risk? So that's a good course I would definitely recommend everybody at some point take some sort of personal safety course. So if you need to do your renewal requirement, you could get that knocked out right in your continuing education. Next, property management essentials. So maybe you want to learn more about property management. Maybe you want to do some more of that. If you're already doing property management, this might help you, again, maybe getting more back to basics, or maybe you're already way beyond that, but maybe you're new to it and you want to learn more about how it works. That residential property management course is a great place to start out with. And again, that counts for 4 hours of continuing education. You've got the technology tools and trends that we talked about. That's, again, a little bit more extended. That's another 4-hour course because that one does cover a little bit wider array of topics. And then you also have the fundamentals of commercial real estate. So I know that's also something that a lot of people getting into real estate that maybe is an idea that's something they want to do down the road, or maybe something they want to do maybe more soon. Again, a good place to start is that commercial real estate continuing education course. And like I said, all these, they're great places to start if this information is new to you. And that's where these courses can be really beneficial, and not just knocking out the renewal requirement, but also giving you information, arming you with information that you could use to build a stronger business, to build a better machine that is better at serving your clients and ultimately better at making you money, because you serve your clients, they will exchange money for you. That's the only reason people are willing to pay you for anything, is that you're solving some sort of problem that they can't solve on their own, either because they don't know how, they don't have time for it, or some other reason why they cannot do it on their own. So they contract with you, but you need to be solving their problem. But how are you going to solve their problem if you don't know how to solve their problem? And that's where, again, more education, more training. Look, I don't want to sound cheesy, but the whole knowledge is power thing, that applies when you got the right kind of knowledge. Going to school for 4 years and getting some bachelor's degree in something, I don't know if that's going to help you at all in selling real estate. But these 3 and 4 hour courses here, these will teach you things that are worth their weight in gold. Little bits and pieces here and there. If you really take them and run with them over the life of your real estate career, it's going to pay whatever the cost is. And most of these courses, they're like $10 and $12 each. They're just little mini courses, again, designed to help you, again, expand your knowledge outside of what the average real estate agent knows. Because if you think of what the average real estate agent knows, we know for sure that they know at least enough to pass the real estate exam because somehow they got their real estate license. So we know they could score at least 70%. Or maybe they just took it a bunch of times and eventually guessed good enough to get it passed. Whatever. They at least got to that point. Number 2, they've got to do post-licensing. So if they've been licensed for at least 2 years, you know for a fact if they still have an active license that they've done post-licensing. So if you've done post-licensing and they've done post-licensing, what have you done that's going to really set you apart? Now, you could do the continuing education that you just, do the correspondence textbook. And honestly, if you need to do this course in a hurry, maybe your renewal deadline's coming up, and there is a grace period for continuing education as well. Not much of a grace period, but there is a little bit of a grace period for continuing education, not post-licensing, but continuing education. So with that little bit of a grace period there, maybe you just need to do this quick so you get back to doing business. Call us up, order that correspondence textbook. That's going to be the quickest, easiest way to get this done. But if you've got the time to sit back and, learn something, and maybe one of these topics, you see them as something as, you know what, that probably could be something that I could use. That could be info that I need. This is a great opportunity, again, to do two things at once. To ultimately meet the Frex requirement, but also, again, take in information that's going to help you grow your real estate business. So look, that's about all the time it is that we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions about obtaining your real estate license, completing post-licensing, your continuing education, you can see all of our continuing education catalog online at 14hourfl.com, or whatever questions you have, however it is that we can help you, call us up. We have advisors standing by, 813-333-2676. It's 813-333-2676. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that they can. Whether you're just starting out your real estate career or you're ready to take your real estate business to the next level, that's what we're here to help you do. And our courses can help you do that depending on what stage of your business it is that you're at. So whether you're just initially planning out getting your real estate license, or you've already got your real estate license and maybe you want to get your broker license, or maybe you want to make the most use of taking this continuing education course, call us up or visit us online. The website again is tampaschool.com, or you can call us at 813-333-2676. It's about all the time we've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday for State of Real Estate. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam, because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at passfirsttry.com. That's passfirsttry.com.